Howdy ho, music fans. Steven here. Welcome back to the Round Table. And today I'll be discussing about a little unknown project from one of my favorite singers, Paul Rodgers. As you all know, I've been posting a few things out there. He has a new album, his first album of new material in over 2 decades. It's called Midnight Rose. I believe it's coming out September 22nd. I'm excited as all heck for it. So I decided to go through my collection and I stumbled on a little project that's misunderstood and has fallen through the cracks over the years. So Paul Rodgers is no slouch when it comes to supergroups. He's been in Free, Bad Company. He fronted Queen, and he was in an album in a band with Jimmy Page called The Firm. They released two albums in the '80s. They had a big hit with Radioactive. But there's this one project called The Law, which never really came to fruition or never reached the heights it should have. And it's a shame. It had potential. This is a project that came after the firm disbanded in the '80s, and Atlantic Records wanted to get Paul Rodgers back in the game, so they kind of, threw this idea of, get an album together and get other people to play on it and contribute songs so you can tackle different musical genres or different musical styles. You won't be stuck into trying to come up with the next sounding Bad Company kind of song. And he bumps into Kenny Jones from the Who, Faces and the Small Faces. They hit it off. He kind of says, I'm doing this project. You want to come on board? He says, yeah, they get on board. They get producer Chris Kimsey, who's known for the Stones and Peter Frampton. You've got manager Bill Ham from ZZ Top on board. You've got Atlantic chief Emmett Edergun as a co-producer and spearheading this thing. A lot of big people are involved in this project. You had then Phil Collin from Def Leppard writing a song, Bryan Adams and Jim Valance contributing to a song, David Gilmour playing on there, David Gilmour from Pink Floyd, Chris Rea contributing a song and playing on there. A lot of people on this project. So, expectations were high, and this thing flopped. The album went to 126 on the Billboard charts. There was one of the few songs written by Paul Rodgers on here called Laying Down the Law, which kind of sounds like a Bad Company song. Made it to the top of the rock charts. But the album came and went. And it's unfortunate. It's a decent album. But there are a few things that are wrong with it, in my opinion. First off, the production. It sounds very mechanical. If you had a great drummer like Jones on there, and it sounds like a drum machine, and it shouldn't. I think it's production for me is one of the issues. Number two, of course, when Paul Rodgers is coming out with something, even though you have outside writers and they're good writers, don't get me wrong, everybody's going to compare the singles or the songs they hear to Paul Rodgers' greatest hits. It's going to be compared to Feel Like Making Love, Rock Steady, All Right Now, Radioactive, you name it. And maybe these songs are good, but they may not be as strong as the classics from Bad Company and Free. But I'm not taking away anything from this album. There are some good songs. I enjoyed For a Little Ride, the album opener. Laying Down the Law from Paul Rodgers is a great sounding track as well. Nature of the Beast is a cute rock song from Bryan Adams and Jim Valance. Stone from Chris Rea is great. And Stone Cold as well is another great track. There's some good songs. It's the production that kind of holds them down. If I had my way with this thing, I would have made these guys go on tour first, play some of the songs that inspired them to make music, get Jones and Rodgers to feel each other out, create this bond, get together and feel each other out, and then go into the studio. So, like I mentioned, production. Of course, when they release the songs, they're going to compare it to Paul Rodgers' past. That's going to happen. It's inevitable. Three, it comes out in 1991. Grunge music has taken hold over rock radio and video stations across the globe. Guys like Rodgers and Jones are seen as evil at this point. Anything in classic rock is not going to be promoted, not going to be played, not going to be pushed. And that was just a fact then. A lot of bands struggled, especially classic rock guys struggled in this period. In the 90s was hard for everybody. I mean, Def Leppard tried doing a grunge album, Bon Jovi tried, you name it, everybody tried to sound like grunge. Paul Rodgers comes out with a very commercial sounding, very kind of 80s sounding rock record, Journey esque, Foreigner kind of sounding. Big no no. Programmers, I think, kind of went, this is not what's selling anymore. So it wasn't really pushed. So unfortunately, this album fell by the wayside. And it's like I said, it is unfortunate. There are some good songs on here. They may not reach the heights of anything from Bad Company or Free, but it shouldn't take away from the listening experience. So if you have a chance, take a look for this. Try to find it. There's a few little gems on here. Like I said, Stone Cold, Laying Down the Law, For a Little Ride are great little tracks on here and deserve to be listened to and be played. Everybody knows him from Free. Everybody knows him from Bad Company. Everybody knows him from, The Firm. And some people remember from Queen. They may not like him that he fronted Queen for a while, but he did. But this is one little project that I don't think it should have flopped. If they would have went on tour first, record the album, change the production perhaps, go on tour again, then the second album they really, I think, would have knocked it out of the park. I think this was just too many obstacles in its way, namely grunge. Not like I like grunge music, but I think it really hurt the chances of a radio friendly rock album coming out at that time. And again, the production didn't help. I'm going to question Chris Kimsey's production style on this one. I think live in the studio is where it's at, especially with these guys. They work better that way than trying to make a drum sounding machine album when you have a more than capable drummer on there. But the star, again, I'm going to say, is Paul Rodgers' voice. He sounds amazing on here, regardless if you like the songs or not. He is fantastic. So if you have a chance, I recommend that you go search out The Law from Paul Rodgers and Kenny Jones. It came out in 91. I believe it was remastered with some bonus tracks. I never had the chance to pick it up. I wish I did. And there's some other tracks that they were doing a second album that apparently are on YouTube. You can find them. I'll probably put a few tracks on here. You listen below, click on here, see if you see what you think about them. I'd love to hear from you guys. Have anybody heard of this band, The Law? Have you heard of this album? What do you think of it? Let me know. Share your thoughts. What do you think about Paul Rodgers coming out of the woodworks after it's been 25 years with new material? What do you think about that? I'm looking forward to this. I'm going backtracking. I like The Law. I think it deserves to be acknowledged at least. But you let me know what you think, and if you can, I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me. So this is Steven from the Round Table, recommending that you give The Law from Paul Rodgers and Kenny Jones a listen.